Welcome to another edition of a Brobdingnagian Minute. How long is a Brobdingnagian Minute? Well, it's this long. This long. Damn podcast, you can't see my hands. Okay, it's really, really wide. It really is. Okay, we've got to do words. I got this. Hold on. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I've got this. It was a wide expanse that day, my friends. One that alters crack to chasm while giving rise to the concept of infinity.
Did you pull that up from ChatGPT?
No, actually, I wrote that myself.
Oh, right. Sure you did.
No, actually, I did.
Wink, wink.
No, I listened to a lot of audiobooks. So, that was actually more of a parody of a George Costanza from Seinfeld.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Welcome to the Brobdingnagian Bards podcast. Today we're talking about If I Had a Million Ducats. So make sure you check that out. But before we get to that, I want to thank our Nagians. We do run our own record label. It is funded through the generosity of our Nagians on Patreon. Your kind support pays our bills, allows us to promote our music, and of course it puts money in our pockets so that we can keep creating music and podcasts just for you.
For as little as $5 per month, you get bonus behind-the-scenes podcasts, videos, and bootleg concert recordings. This is just for patrons. Join the Nagians Only Club right now.
I'm not sure what to think about that. So
Sorry, is that too schwarmy? I can.
No, it was great, Andrew. It was great.
Okay, I'll work on that.
We have some upcoming shows for you. First off, the Brobdingnagian Bards will be at Dragon Con this year. We finally got our official invite.
I know, right? Just a few days ago, and I sent it right back. So don't worry, we're all official now.
Good. We do need to figure out who's going to be helping us sell merch. So, we could ask people and say, hey, if anyone wants to help out, but it's possible. We might need some help. I don't know if you have people lined up, but we'll talk about that later. We are also going to be doing a short set at the Comedy Music Cabaret in Gen Con. That's I think it's August 1st is when that's going to be happening. So come join us there as well. What kind of shows you got coming up, Andrew?
Well, I've got a few options. I've coming up here just in the... when is this going? When is this podcast coming up?
June 15th.
This podcast is June 15th?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, then I will have just finished with the New Jersey Ren Fair, which will be a lot of fun, and jumping into the North Dakota Renaissance Fair in Fargo, North Dakota. So I'll be traveling from New Jersey to North Dakota, 1,400 miles. Yes, I did the math. And for 2 weekends over there, and then coming back down to Austin, hiding inside to avoid the summer, and then meeting you at Gen Con on August the 1st.
Fantastic.
What about you, man?
Well, I will be coming. When this goes live, I will be still in Italy, actually, or I think. So I'm going to the Isle of Man for my Celtic invasion. Then I'm going to Italy to visit my mom. So June 22nd is my next show at Nerdy Wonderland at the Lost Druid Brewery in Avondale Estates. July 20th.
I've got to ask though.
Okay.
Well, you're at the Isle of Man, right?
Right.
Then you go to Italy. How do you go to Italy from the Isle of Man? Do you just fly straight there, or do you just, go like the one of 20 other possible ways that you can just travel around Europe?
Interestingly, the Isle of Man is not an easy place to get to. It's easier flying there, but they have very limited flights. It is a very small island. It's going to be an interesting invasion because of that. It's pretty small island, so it's to be pretty laid back. But I basically have to fly into Dublin and then take a hop over to the Isle of Man, and then basically hop back to Dublin and then fly to Venice to meet up with my mom. So yes, it should be an interesting little trip. But yes, the Nerdy Wonderland is my big event, which I'm really excited about because it is a themed event, which is sort of like a convention a convention vendor room, and I'll be playing music there. Inaro will be joining me. Which
I'm cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have her do a set. We've been working on music together, and she's also gonna do a set with me at the Irish Fest in Atlanta, in November. So
is she gonna elf it up, the whole Wonderland thing?
I hadn't even thought about that, but you know what? Maybe so. That just might happen.
Just throwing it out.
But we'll see. But she is going to be singing some songs. We are working on that, and hopefully that'll come together. July 27th, I'll be at the Lost Druid again. And then, of course, August 1st through 4th at Gen Con with several shows scheduled there. All right. So today we're talking about If I Had a Million Ducats.
If I had a million ducats, the things I would do.
Yes. And we have a lot of things we would do because we have covered and recovered and redone versions of the song many times.
Yes. We've recovered, cleaned off old covers, and recycled them for reuse. Yes, we have done it all.
And in fact, ironically or not so ironically, we also did a podcast where the origin story of Brobdingnagian Bards, We Made Lemonade, which included I'm sure we talked about If I Had a Million Ducats in that podcast. So that's a full hour and a half episode that you could check out if you want to hear more about it. But yeah. So If I Had a Million Ducats, I think it was in 1999 when we wrote that, and the Barenaked Ladies song was still must have been still fresh in our mind, which is If I Had a Million Dollars.
Well, we were really lucky because for those of you that don't know, Marc and I met at college at the University of Texas. Yeah. And one of the best things about college, let's be honest, one of the best things about college is that you always hear cool music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you get cool music in college. It's one of those perks. Yeah. And, the Barenaked Ladies, that's actually one of the oldest Barenaked Ladies songs. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah, that was one of the first songs they ever wrote. And they wrote it back in like 91. Wow. And then it was re-released back again back in like 95, 96 in the UK and the US, and finally kind of came over. And when it first kind of started making the rounds in the US, that's when you and I first heard it.
Yeah. Wow.
And we were some of the early Americans, I think, to really hear a million, If I Had a Million Ducats and the Barenaked Ladies. Sorry, dollars. Sorry, it's force of habit now. If I Had a Million Dollars, I mean, and the Barenaked Ladies, and it was just really I mean, we kind of had that influence. So when we first started doing FAIRE, you and I kind of both kind of had our little folder of songs. Hey, let's do this song and let's do that song. And we kind of each brought our own songs, but we quickly realized we need more songs. And I made this joke at FAIRE. I mean, usually the best ideas we come up with are usually one of us making a joke and the other one taking it seriously. So
usually it's you making the joke and me taking it seriously.
Usually, yes. But anyway, I just said, hey, wouldn't it be hilarious if we did If I Had a Million Ducats? And for me, ducats, I think about it because I was, in high school, I was Shylock in The Merchant of Venice and play doing that. And it was a lot of fun. And, one of the big lines in there is talking about ducats. Yeah. That ducats, it was always a form of currency, Italian form of currency that was fresh on my mind. So I just made the connection and threw that out. And you were just like, yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that. And we just started writing. Yeah. So that's the basic history. What are your memories on that?
So I remember, I remember, starting to write the song at work. I do remember that. I was working at the University of Texas at Austin in the registrar's office, and I was a terrible employee. I was not doing a whole lot of work. Well, that's not true. I did my work. I completed stuff when I needed to, but
when you needed to, but the rest of the time, well, it sounds like a standard state employee to me, but okay.
But I remember being in the office, writing stuff. And I don't remember how you and I were communicating as we were working on some of this stuff, but I do remember working a little bit of it at my office. So that was kind of fascinating. So I do remember that, but I also remember that it was. I think the fair was like 4 weeks long, Excalibur Fantasy Fair, because that was our very first fair.
And their first season.
So it was 1999. I had just started work at the University of Texas. I was in January. I was sitting on the South Mall and playing a couple quote unquote Irish-ish songs. And someone said, "Hey, you want to play at a Renaissance festival?" And there we go, off to Excalibur Fantasy Fair. After I reeled you in, suckered you in, and
tricked, yes,
and we were doing a few weeks, and we were doing an okay show, but we didn't have anything that was, blowing it out of the water. I think this was one of the songs that I felt like took us to the next level. And it was like at the third or fourth weekend that we introduced it. I feel like it was the third because
I want to say we tried it once at the third, and then we were like, we're onto something, and we played it a lot on the fourth last.
Yeah, and I don't remember if we had Virgins at that point.
Yes, we did.
We did. Okay,
that was one that we that I had in my folder that we brought in. That was Virgins. The song "Do Virgins Taste Better Than Those Who Are Not?" That was probably the closest thing we had to a main comedy song.
Yeah,
and people liked it, and it was going well. But that was it. I mean, that was sort of like the headline comedy song, and people really liked it. So honestly, that kind of helped push us in that direction.
Yeah,
of we need more comedy. What could we do?
Yeah,
and I think so. I mean, in a way, you could say Million Ducats owes a little bit to Virgins.
Yeah, true. But one of the great things about it is, again, as you say, it was a comedy, but it turned out it was also a comedy that could change, a comedy song that could change. So each time we would do it, it was completely different, which made it more enjoyable.
We didn't start out that way, though.
Did we not? Okay.
No, not at the very beginning. I mean, I think that first time at XCal, we only did it for one more weekend, really, after that. And so we were playing it. Well, this is what we know. We were just hoping we remembered the lyrics at that point.
Fair point.
But pretty quickly, that fair led to another, which led to another. It was really a whirlwind in 99 for us. We just kept doing different gigs. And by the end of that year, we went from playing the brand new fair to playing at the Texas Renaissance Festival. Yeah. One of the biggest in the country. It was crazy how that all came about. But during that time, we almost had to do that song every show. Yeah. And that gets a little, what's the word?
Old.
Yeah, I was going to say redundant, but sure, we can say old. So it was really just an issue of, I think, keeping sanity. I don't remember exactly when we started, hey, let's mix this up, because you and I, we would try to mess each other up all the time. We would have fun and randomly say stuff on stage and just have fun with songs, because that's what we want to do.
Well, when did we start taking requests, for that matter? Words? That's a really good question. I don't even remember.
Well, that was you. I remember that you did that one at one point.
That was probably speaking of trying to freshen it up. I was probably like, oh God, I got to have something to make the song more interesting.
Right. And that was one of those. I think it was one of those where either you were just trying to mess with me, or you just got it in your head of, hey, how about if we just pull the audience? It was one of those things where let's just have fun with it, and you just threw it out. So even now, when at the beginning of shows, the song, when you start saying, hey, let's ask the audience, and I always joke about, or we could just do it straight. We don't have to do that. It's kind of a referential joke where I'm not exactly serious about it. It's more like, this is kind of how it was the first time you did that.
Right. Yeah. True.
So that's how a lot of our jokes are on stage. They're based on reality, even if they're not exactly true. It's an exaggerated version of how it happened. That's why I still do that joke, if you're curious. But yeah. No, you just whipped that out at one point. I kind of vaguely remember this because of my shock when you just went to the audience and said, "Hey, why don't you make some suggestions and I'll try to include it in the song?" And my response was, "Are you nuts? Why are you doing this to me?" And that
makes a lot of sense now as I think about your hesitancy at the beginning of each and every time we play that song.
It's habit. You see, that's why. It's not that I'm afraid to do it.
It started 25 years ago, and now it's still going.
Yeah.
So we initially recorded that on A Fair to Remember. I don't remember
our first
exactly.
CD. Or no. It wasn't. We recorded that on the first CD.
Was it? Well, I don't know. Now I'm gonna check really quick because I thought it was A Fair to Remember that was the.
Well, we had that, but we had it on the earlier one too.
I think you might be right.
No, we had it on our.
You are right. You were absolutely right.
And in fact, we had it on our first CD.
Did we actually have it on that too?
Yes, we did.
Are you sure?
Well, I burned all the copies, but I still have the recordings hidden away, locked up in an encrypted file. But yes, I do have that.
How many layers of encryption? Because I want to make sure that even AI can't get into it when the time comes.
Let's see. Hold on. Yes, Ducats pre-CD.
You accessed
April 21st, 1999.
You accessed that really fast. I'm a little concerned right now, man.
I actually have a search program called Everything, which is really good. It just keeps a database of every file on all of my hard drives. So I just have to type in Ducats and then sort by date, and it showed the earliest version.
So I guess that makes a lot more sense then, because if that means that we recorded it, it would have been in the fall or summer when we did that. A Fair to Remember, not Marked by Great Size. I think we had it by the time we did Texas Renfest that fall, right?
Yeah.
So we did that, and then 2001 was when we released A Fair to Remember, and that must have been when we did that version as well as Million Ducats. You think?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So because I do remember we did. And I couldn't remember exactly how we ended up recording it, but we recorded like 6 or 7 different versions of If I Had a Million Ducats, and each one was more bizarre, and we picked the best of them to put on the actual CD, which was a lot of fun. Which at that point
we'd been doing it for a few years, so it wasn't that hard to mix it up time and time again, because every show we did that. So just trying to one-up ourselves and keep saying silly stuff, not really a chore.
It was a lot of fun actually hearing I actually listened to a couple of them before we got on recording. I was like, I wonder what this is like. I don't remember.
Right.
So I think we're going to play that at the end as well, so that you can get a taste of that. But really cool. So we did that. And then we did we did a version by that. We were like, it's such a big part of our music. We ended up doing one for Brobdingnagian Fairy Tales, and then we did a live one for the live Nex Monoceroti Perisibus when we did the live CD. And of course, I think it was the Brobdingnagian Fairy Tales that had. Was it the Brobdingnagian Fairy Tales, or was it the live CD that had the Hedgehog Band? I think it was the live one.
I think the live.
Which, for those who want to know about the Hedgehog Band, you might not know what we're talking about. On that recording, we mentioned that there is a ban on hedgehogs. Andrew put up a ban, and so
what happened was we were we like I said, Ducats was an insanely popular song, and we had to do it almost every show. I mean, even if we had at a fair, every show we did that day, it was. Audience would kind of get pissed at us if we didn't do it sometimes. So it became really a constant thing. I mean, we love the song, so it's not bad, but it was just, it became an ongoing thing, and people had to keep suggesting things. Well, one guy started following us to all of our shows and kept requesting hedgehogs every single show. And
was it just one person? Because I feel like there was a lot of people who kept saying.
Well, I think it started out with one person at a few different shows, but then other people were going to multiple shows, and it became an ongoing joke. of, well, let's do hedgehogs, because they always bristle with that. And it started following us to different events after. I mean, it was at a fair initially, but then it started going to conventions, and we were like, okay, this is enough. No, we're not doing hedgehogs every single, because the whole purpose of asking the audience for information was so that the song wasn't the same every time.
Oh.
So, I mean, people just kind of always having to include hedgehogs. I mean, sure, you can have fun with them and include them, hedgehogs riding little mini bicycles and throw all these random thoughts in there and have fun with it.
Yeah.
But eventually you start just saying, okay, and no, I want a fur cloak made of hedgehogs. I mean, you start really getting mean about it. So,
yeah, and
it's not a pretty look. So yeah, I mean, you eventually say, no, we need to do a ban, because this is
Yeah. Well, I noticed, though, even after that, I think I know the guy you're talking about too. But even after that, I feel like when we go to shows where he wasn't even around or didn't even know him, I always felt like there'd be someone who would shout hedgehogs, and it's like, what the hell? What is this thing with the hedgehogs?
Well, I think part of it was because it was soon after that we put out the hedgehog ban.
Yeah.
And then that was a recording.
And that added to it.
I think that added to it.
Gotcha.
Because, like I said, it became the ongoing joke of our fans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, damn that guy. Anyway. No, good for him. I mean, no, it's really that. I mean, if you can start a trend, hey, more power to you.
If I Had a Million Ducats was also the song where we learned about, well, at least I did, learned about filk. Because we were playing a wedding, and Drew, we're walking he and his wife, his now time wife, we played their wedding, walking them along. He said, "I love that you guys play filk," and we're like, "What? What the hell is that?"
Yeah, Drew and Amanda's wedding. That was we played. We used to play at a decent number of weddings, and that was we were wedding singers. Yeah.
Wedding singers. The Bardic wedding singers. So that's definitely one of those fun memories as well from the song.
We were doing filk, but when we didn't know what filk was.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to play for you If I Had a Million Ducats. This is the worst.
Which version?
The worst ever version, according to.
No, those are encrypted. What are you talking about?
Or do you want? No, sorry, that's titled the. I mean, if you'd rather, we could do the Who intro.
I see.
Those were my two favorite of the ones we were looking at. So. Oh,
okay. Well, no, I mean, all of them are pretty good. So I have no problem.
Well, we're gonna do the worst ever version. It's from we did an EP called A Million Ducats. Right now, it's only available on our USB. So if you would have to find that on our store, go to thebards.net. You can find all that. Where you can also find other merch, including a May the Bards Be With You musical pin. And there's even a couple shirts left. Literally a couple shirts left. So go check it out. Here is If I Had a Million Ducats, the worst ever.
If I had a million ducats,
if I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you a keep.
I would buy you a keep.
If I had a million ducats,
if I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you furniture for your keep.
Maybe Louis XIV or not more.
If I had a million ducats,
if I had a million ducats,
why, I'd buy you a big coach,
all pretty with the fridge on the top.
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy your love. We wouldn't have to hunt for game.
If I had a million ducats,
and we wouldn't hunt for sport because it wouldn't be the same.
If I had a million ducats,
we could have pet and square foot around the keep.
A nice big garden.
What kind of garden?
A maze garden with high protein-rich vegetables.
I don't like gardens, though.
No?
No gardens. I'm sick of gardens.
A big garden, like
a big garden
with huge
no.
Things.
I think we need to do away with the garden entirely. Well, wait a minute. Okay, I'll tell you what. We can keep the garden.
We can keep the garden
if it's a chocolate garden.
A chocolate garden.
Ooh.
If I had a million ducats,
if I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you a fur cloak.
and not a woolen cloak, 'cause that's cruel itches.
If I had a million ducats,
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you an exotic pet.
like a dragon or
yeah.
unicorn.
If I had a million ducats,
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you a Saint Germain.
and all them crazy Solid Saints bones.
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy your love.
if I had a million ducats,
We wouldn't have to walk to the fair.
if I had a million
I'd
ducats,
hire a knight to carry a horse there.
if I had a million ducats,
We wouldn't have to get our feet all dirty.
we wouldn't have to walk through the filth.
Oh, I hate the filth so much.
Look
That's
how people
true.
throw on cloaks for us.
Cloaks like Sir Walter Riley. Just step on the
Sir
cloaks.
Walter Riley!
Just step on Sir Walter Riley again and again. Mash his face into the mud. Lifelong dream.
If I had a million ducats,
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you a bed.
and not a bed of nails, 'cause that's cruel.
If I had a million ducats,
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy you a piece of art.
a Michelangelo.
Ronan?
Leonardo's better.
If I had a million ducats,
If I had a million ducats,
of course you know I'd have to buy you a monkey.
I've been always wanted a monkey.
If I had a million ducats,
I'd buy your love.
if I had a million ducats,
If I had a million ducats.
if I had a million ducats,
Oh, if I had those million ducats.
if I had a million
ducats, we'd be kings.
All right, Andrew, before we finish up, I thought it'd be nice to talk about your first Renaissance Festival experience. Do you
Oh my
remember?
God.
Do you
My
remember yours?
my first time? Oh yeah.
Your
It was
first time.
wonderful.
Back when you were a virgin.
she was lovely. Oh, I'm sorry. What are we talking about again?
The Renaissance Festival, not when you were a Renaissance Festival virgin. That's what we're looking at.
Wait a minute. What? Are we okay? Now I'm confused again. Are we talking about the? We're talking about my first time.
First time at a Renaissance Festival. Yes.
Oh, okay. First time visiting a Renaissance Festival. Or
Yes.
Okay. I got it. Okay,
Visiting
got it.
a Renaissance Festival that you can remember.
Oh yeah, that's easy. My sister got me involved in Renaissance festivals. That was she was. She was really a fan of Renaissance, medieval, and classical music and all of that, and really got me involved in all of that at a very young age. And I give her a lot of credit for that. And she was going to the Texas Renaissance Festival with some of her friends and said, hey, you want to come with us? I mean, really, for an older sister to say that to the younger brother, really cool. So that she was willing to do that.
Yeah,
so yeah, she took me with her friends. I was 16, I guess. So I wasn't 8 when I first went to a Ren Fair or anything. No, I was a teenager, and that was my first experience at the Ren Fair, and I was hooked immediately. I mean, all these different music shops and musicians, and I every time I would go year after that, I would go into the different music shops, buy sheet music, and learn some of the Baroque and Renaissance tunes. And I'd get a new bamboo flute from Eric the Flute Maker. For those of you who've done this long enough to remember him, one of the early bamboo flute makers. And I would work on that and just have a lot of fun. And that's how I really got involved. And some of the early songs that you and I did were because of my sister, like Do Virgins Taste Better Than Those Who Are Not? She's the one that introduced me to that song. She hates it when I tell that story, but she's the one that introduced me to that song.
Very cool.
So,
Okay.
what about you? What was your first fair
So
experience?
I vaguely have some memory that I was at I think it might have been the Maryland Renaissance Festival when I was a kid. But I really don't know this is like these faint memories, but the one I remember a lot more, a fair amount more at least, was going to Texas Ren Fest with you. David was there. I think Amy and John and all our friends from college. I remember we went to the fair there, and that's about it. That's all I really remember. I don't remember the rest of the experience, but I remember being there with y'all. Not a whole lot as far as the memories from the first visitings. Again, when I was a kid, I seem to remember some puppets. And I'm not sure how much of these also are memories based on pictures versus memories I actually have.
Well, no, I mean,
I remember loving it. I remember loving it. So yeah.
Yeah. That was at that point. I guess I'd been going for because that would have been what I think around 95, 94.
Yeah, probably 95. Yeah.
Okay. That was a fun. I remember going with that. Oh yeah, was that the time I dressed up as a jester?
I think so. You know what? I think so.
Well, they had I actually dressed up as a jester, a full jester costume, and did that. That was a lot of fun. I remember that. Everybody, I realized a valuable lesson. Everybody kept saying, "Hey, tell me a joke," and I'm horrible at telling planned jokes like that. I mean, just random silly stuff I'm great at, but tell me a thought out structured joke. I cannot. I'm horrible at that stuff on the fly. So I realized, nope, I'm never dressing up like a jester ever again. So yeah, nice. that probably was very influential in me becoming a bard. Now that I think about it.
True enough.
No jester here, always a bard.
All right. Next time, we're going to have a Bard's bootleg concert, but it's going to be patron only, Nagian only. So you need to be a member of the Nagians Only Club on Patreon. But the next time we have a public podcast will probably be in August. So stay tuned for that.
Cool.
All right, dude. Let's close out. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Yep, always a pleasure, always fun, and remember that, when in doubt, always just think that if I had $1 million ducats, what would I do?
Right. All right. The Brobdingnagian Bards podcast was produced by Marc, Gunn, and Andrew McKee. Sign up to our mailing list and download free MP3s and get monthly updates of what's new. Find it all at thebards.net.